Good day everyone. This time we are going to tackle about the ICT or the Information and Communication Technology. ICT is the infrastructure and components that enable modern computing. Although ICT has no single, universal definition, the term is generally accepted to mean all devices, networking components, applications, and systems that combine and allow people and organizations such as businesses, non-profit agencies, governments, and criminal enterprises to interact in the digital world. Its presence is everywhere. Information and communication technology has an immense economic significance. Introduction to ICT. ICT plays a vital role in the educational system since its main objective is to explain how the effective use of technology is helping and upgrading the teaching learning process. It helps to promote knowledge and skill of the learners, thereby encouraging and improving creativity, critical thinking, and learning how to learn. Moreover, educational activities through ICT are providing scope to acquire wider knowledge. Integrating ICT in our educational activities can widen the knowledge of students because it allows learners to manage their own learning, think critically and creatively, solve simulated real-world problems, work collaboratively, engage in ethical decision-making, and adopt a global perspective towards issues and ideas. And now, let's proceed to the uses of ICT integrated teaching on learning process. First is it can give learners access to concepts that they previously could not grasp. ICTs can enhance the quality of education in several ways by increasing learning motivation and engagement, by facilitating the acquisition of basic skills, and by enhancing teacher training. ICTs are also transformational tools which, when used appropriately, can promote the shift to a learner-centered environment. Second is it has the ability to address illiteracy and improve the quality of education in all sectors of education. Through the use of internet, students can be able to access informations and lessons that they did not understand. Through this, it can improve the quality of education and it could address illiteracy in all sectors of education. Third is it could provide the real opportunity for fundamental progress and development of an individual. Teaching through ICT tools can easily explain complex instructions and ensure students' comprehension. Furthermore, using images in class can facilitate the teaching of different subjects and improve the retentive memory of the students. So the fourth is it provides the real opportunity for fundamental progress and development of an individual. So, ICT allows students to monitor and manage their own learning, think critically and creatively, solve stimulated real world problems, work collaboratively, engage in ethical decision making, and adopt a global perspective towards issues and ideas. By that, ICT can provide real opportunity for fundamental progress and development of each student. The fifth is that the advancement of technology has brought many changes in educational scenario. Yes, indeed, technology has profoundly changed education. It has greatly expanded education, and massive amounts of information can also be accessible through books, audio, and images and videos. Sixth is with the emergence of ICT, education and research capability has been increasing rapidly. ICT tools has proven to be very helpful to researchers in finding needed information quickly and easily. It also improves the effectiveness of education and its scope by facilitating mobile learning and inclusive teaching. The seventh is that ICT is a medium through which teachers and learners can learn. For instance, through drill and practice exercises, in simulations and educational networks. Through these activities, teachers and learners can both learn. Then, ICT-based teaching and learning can develop competencies needed for the 21st century learners. Also, the ICT skill-based education will surely provide technology resource learners. They can also fulfill the needs of the society by getting employability. Acquisition of ICT skills in educational institutions helps knowledge sharing, thereby multiplying educational opportunities. And lastly, in education, ICT can act as auxiliary device.
What is a virtual learning environment? A virtual learning environment is an online system that allows education materials to be transmitted through the internet to transfer knowledge from teacher to student. A virtual learning environment, or VLE, is an online education platform. It is used as an extension of normal school lessons. A VLE contains many tools to help students learn their subjects. Students can access the VLE from home by logging into the system. Virtual learning environment examples include the following. First, we have distance learning degree programs, professional certification courses. The second one, we have instructional videos, video or audio lectures. E-learning platform is an integrated set of interactive online services that provides the teachers, learners, parents, and others involved in education with information, tools, and resources to support and enhance educational delivery and management. How to deliver an engaging virtual classroom presentation. Engaging synchronous software platform for interactions because interaction encourage participation. It promotes workforce learning and trying to cut travel time and cost associated with face-to-face instructor-led training. Participants are retaining material and planning and facilitating frequent and relevant interactions. Virtual classroom sessions, as a rule, the learner must be engaged with the instructor, either participant or a workbook. This interaction must have a purpose and learning objectives and participants' attention. In the virtual classroom, we have to use many synchronous software platforms. Each one of these have different functionalities and we must have true knowledge to use them at right situations. Visual with your voice can draw the attention of the participants. Content you communicate and promote active learning. Reduce the text and use more visuals. But one thing you must be careful with visuals is that they may distract the attention. So visuals should be appropriate and content should go into long-term memory. Then whiteboards. This is very important in collaborative learning and are interactive. Whiteboard exercises are truly attractive. We can capture the participants' ideas throughout and use annotation tool. We can circle the visual representation or we can highlight the point. Next one is text-based chats. They can be used by trainer and a participant in an interactive mode. Next comes chat. The participants can text the message to interact with. Type of ICT tools. We have educational networking, an online learning platform that connect learners using social networking technologies, exhibiting similar function to sites like Facebook or MySpace. An example of this are Ning Classroom 2.0 and ELG. Next, we have web based learning, a set of online applications or services that expand learners' abilities to interact and collaborate with each other in the process of searching, receiving, organizing, and generating educational content. An example of these are wiki, blog, podcasting, social bookmarking, and virtual worlds. Next, we have mobile learning is a mobile devices or technologies used for educational purposes that support different aspects of instruction or make new educational activities available. An example of this are a smartphone, PDA, GPS for augmented reality games and interactive response pods. Then we have classroom equipment, standalone devices that are used in traditional classroom to facilitate the interaction between teachers and students in different class activities. An example of these are interactive whiteboard, touchscreen computer, and kiosk.
Security issues, ethics, and emerging technologies in education. The technologies that we enjoy today, while having many educational benefits, have also presented some new securities and ethical challenges. While we promote and support the positive education possibilities that these technologies offer, it is equally important to educate ourselves as educators and our students about its proper and safe use. Now let me ask you, what is a virus? Well, a computer virus, much like a flu virus, it is designed to spread from host to host and can replicate itself. Similarly, in the same way that flu viruses cannot reproduce without a host cell, computer viruses cannot reproduce and spread without programming such as a file or document. In more technical terms, a computer virus is a type of malicious code or program written to alter the way a computer operates and is designed to spread from one computer to another. How does a computer virus attack? Once a virus has successfully attached to a program, file, or document, the virus will lie dormant until circumstances cause the computer or device to execute its code. In order for a virus to infect your computer, you have to run the infected program, which in turn causes the viruses or code to be executed. This means that a virus can remain dormant on your computer without showing major signs or symptoms. However, once the virus infects your computer, the virus can infect other computers on the same network. How do computer viruses spread? In a constantly connected world, viruses can be spread through email and text message attachments, internet file, downloads, and social media scam links. Your mobile devices and smartphones can become infected with mobile viruses through shady app downloads. Viruses can hide distinguished as attachments of socially shareable content such as funny images, greetings cards, or audio and video file. To avoid contact with the virus, it is important to exercise caution when surfing the web, downloading files, and opening links or attachments. To help you stay safe, never download text or email attachment that you are not expecting, or files from website you don't trust. What are the signs of a computer virus? First, frequent pop-up windows. Pop-up might encourage you to visit unusual sites, or they might prod you to download antivirus or other software programs. Second, changes to your homepage. Your usual homepage may change to another website. For instance, plus you may be unable to reset it. Third, mass emails being sent from your email account. A criminal may take control of your account or send emails in your name from another infected computers. Fourth, frequent crashes. A virus can inflict major change in your hard drive. Next is unusually slow computer performance. A sudden change of processing speed could signal that your computer has a virus. Next is unknown programs that start up when you turn on your computer. You may become aware of the unfamiliar program when you start your computer, or you might notice it by checking your computer's list of active applications. Lastly, unusual activities like password changes. This could prevent you from logging into your computer.
Protect against computer viruses and types of computer viruses.
Never neglect to take action on a computer virus residing in your system. There are chances that you might end up losing important files, programs, and folders. In some cases, the virus damages the system hardware too. Thereby, it becomes mandatory to have an effective antivirus software installed on your computer to steer clear of all such threats. Here are some of things you can do to keep your computer safe. First, use a trusted antivirus product and keep it updated with the latest virus definition. Antivirus software is designed to detect, prevent, and take action against malicious software in your computer, including viruses. Second, always scan your email attachment before opening. It helps you avoid viruses by scanning your outbound messages en route to the mail server. It can prevent spam emails or corrupted attachments from going out to your professional or personal networks. And also, always scan the file that you download using file sharing programs. Lastly, avoid clicking on any pop-up advertisements. Pop-up ads are one way web developers and companies make money. However, they can also be used by hackers to steal your personal information. Clicking pop-up ads can redirect you to the sites that can infect your computer and system files.
Types of computer viruses.
1. Boot sector virus. This type of virus can take control when you start or boot your computer. One way it can spread is by plugging an infected USB drive into your computer. 2. Web scripting virus. This type of virus exploits the code of web browsers and web pages. If you access such a web page, the virus can infect your computer. 3. Browser hijacker. This type of virus hijacks certain web browser functions, and you may be automatically directed to an unintended website. 4. Resident virus. This is a general term for any virus that inserts itself in a computer system's memory. A resident virus can execute anytime when an operating system loads. 5. Direct action virus. This type of virus comes into action when you execute a file containing a virus. Otherwise, it remains dormant. 6. Polymorphic virus. A polymorphic virus changes its code each time an infected file is executed. It does this to evade antivirus programs. 7. File infector virus. This common virus inserts malicious code into executable files. Files used to perform certain functions or operations on a system. 8. Multipartite virus. This kind of virus infects and spreads in multiple ways. It can infect both program files and system sectors. 9. Macrovirus. Macroviruses are written in the same macro language used for software applications. Such viruses spread when you open an infected document, often through email attachments.
Philosophies in education. We have perennialism. For perennialists, the aim of education is to ensure the students acquire understandings about the great ideas of Western civilization. These ideas have the potential for solving problems in any era. The focus is to teach ideas that are everlasting, to seek enduring truths which are constant, not changing, as the natural and human worlds at their most essential level do not change. Teaching these unchanging principles is critical. Humans are rational beings and their minds need to be developed. Thus, cultivation of the intellect is the highest priority in a worthwhile education. Proponents of perennialism are Robert Maynard Hutchins and Mortimer Jerome Adler. Perennialists believe that students should read and learn from history's most supreme intellectuals. According to Cohen in 1999, perennialists aim of education is to ensure that students acquire understandings about the great ideas of Western civilization. Perennialists believe students should learn and discover concepts and notions that are everlasting. The curriculum for perennialism centers on an assortment of books that were written by the most exceptional minds ever known to mankind. According to Figures 2013, perennialists centered their instruction on the works of Socrates, Aristotle, Homer, Plato, Geoffrey Chaucer, and William Shakespeare. The belief of perennialism centers on the idea that students with an understanding of these great writers will comprehend the principles of human knowledge. Perennial education can also be characterized by teacher-centered classes. Teachers focus on the material that needs to be taught rather than needs of each student. Smith claims in 2011 perennialist teachers are not concerned about the students' interests or experiences. Perennial teachers are only concerned with teaching topics and concepts based on the universal truths from history, literature, and the arts. The educational philosophy of perennialism is based on the idea that teaching should revolve around human principles and ideals.
And now, let's talk about perennialism. For perennialists, the aim of education is to ensure that students acquire understanding about the great ideas of Western civilization. These ideas have the potential for solving problems in any era. The focus is to teach ideas that are everlasting, to seek enduring truths which are constant, not changing, as the natural and human worlds at their most essential level do not change. Teaching these unchanging principles is critical. Humans are rational beings, and their minds need to be developed. Thus, cultivation of the intellect is the highest priority in a worthwhile education. The demanding curriculum focuses on attaining cultural literacy, stressing students' growth in enduring disciplines. The aim of perennialism in education is to develop power of thought, internalize truths that are universal and constant, and to ensure that students acquire understanding about the great ideas of Western civilization. This is the most conservative, traditional, and flexible philosophy. Perennialism stimulates students in how to think critically and thoughtfully, cultivating the rational mind. According to Figures 2013, perennialists center their instruction in the works of Socrates, Aristotle, Homer, Plato, Geoffrey Chaucer, and William Shakespeare. The belief of perennialism centers on the idea that students with an understanding of these great writers will comprehend the principles of human knowledge. Perennial education can also be characterized by teacher-centered classes, in which the teacher is less concerned with student interest and more concerned with transferring knowledge from older generations to younger generations. The teacher will focus on the importance of reading and will often use the underlying reading lessons to make a moral point. Teachers use history, religion, literature, and the laws of science to reinforce universal ideas that have the potential to solve any problem in any era. Moreover, Smith 2011 claims that perennialist teachers are not concerned about the students' interests or experiences. Perennial teachers are only concerned with teaching topics and concepts based on the universal truths from history, literature, and the arts. The educational philosophy of perennialism is based on the idea that teaching should revolve around human principles and ideals. The advocates of this educational philosophy are Robert Maynard Hutchins, who developed a Great Books program in 1963, and Mortimer Adler, who further developed this curriculum based on 100 great books of Western civilization.
Progressivism comes from the experience of the child. This hypothesis was developed in the late 19th century in America and lasted throughout the first part of the 20th century. John Dewey, an American educator, was a key figure in progressivism. He thought that students should be exposed to democracy at school in order to become better citizens. According to Dewey, instead of having an all-knowing instructor stand in front on a lecture, students should be an active part of their education. In progressive classroom, each kid is center of gravity. That is, progressive education is centered on the child's needs rather than the instructor or a predetermined curriculum. The idea that children live and learn in a community is the last concept of progressivism that focuses on children. Children aren't isolated from others in the real world, and they shouldn't be isolated from others in their learning community. In progressive education, children often collaborate in projects and learn from one another, teaching the children how to be good citizens and not just teaching them facts and figures. This educational philosophy stresses that students should test ideas by active experimentation. Learning is rooted in the question of learners that arise through experiencing the world. It is active, not passive. The learner is a problem solver and a thinker who makes meaning through his or her individual experience in the physical and cultural context. Effective teachers provide experiences so that the student can learn by doing. Curriculum content is derived from students' interests and questions. The scientific method is used by progressivist educators so that students can study matter and events systematically and first-hand. The emphasis is on process how one comes to know. So, in critical thinking, students are taught to think critically by analyzing information for accuracy, making inferences based on evidences, and drawing conclusions based on logic rather than intuition or personal opinion alone. In creativity also, students learn how to be creative thinkers who can come up with solutions outside of traditional methods. Note that in this type of teaching, students are encouraged to learn through inquiry and discovery instead of memorizing facts or follow instructions. Progressive educators believe that all students should be given the opportunity to learn and grow at their own pace. They want to provide a diverse learning environment for each student, including academic, social, emotional, and physical needs. Progressives, progressives teach children how to think critically about current issues in society.
Existentialism. In the education perspective, existentialist believes that the most philosophies of the past have asked out people to think deeply about thoughts and abstractions that had little or no relationship to everyday life. Existential theories are widely used in education. According to existentialists, a good education emphasizes individuality. The first step in any education, then, is to understand ourselves. Making existential methods in the classroom requires a balance in which both teachers and learners, as human beings, preserve its identity. Hence, here are some aims of education in this philosophy: fostering unique qualities and cultivating individualities. Existentialist believes that every individual is unique and education must cater to the individual differences. Therefore, the objective of education is to enable every individual to develop his unique qualities, to harness his potentialities, and cultivate his individualities. Second, development of complete man. Existentialists want that education helps a man to be a complete man in his natural environment. For the development of complete man, freedom is the essential requirement. Freedom is given to a man with a view of realizing his self and understanding his being. Next, becoming of a human person. According to existentialists, one of the most important aims of education in the becoming of a human person, as one who lives in making decisions about what the learners will do and be. Knowing in the sense of knowing oneself, social relationship, and biological relationship. Development are all parts of this. Fourth, we have leading a good life. Good life, according to existentialists, is authentic life, which is possible when an individual starts realizing his individuality and make his or her own independent choices. Therefore, education aims at teaching him to lead a good life with its noble obligation and summit. Fifth, we have fostering of values. According to existentialists, the aim of education should be developing a scale of supreme values consistent with his freedom. Therefore, the learners must develop a commitment to these values and act for them. Naturalism. Naturalism may be called one of the oldest philosophies in the Western world. Reality, according to this philosophy, is presented by nature alone. It is a system whose salient characteristic is the exclusion of whatever is spiritual, or indeed whatever is transcendental of experience, from our philosophy of nature and man. Naturalism as a philosophy expresses itself, according to various thinkers, in three distinct forms: physical naturalists. Proponents of naturalism. First, we have John Amos Comenius. Second, Herbert Spencer. Jean-Jacques Rousseau. Bernard Shaw. Fifth, Aldous Leonard Huxley. And sixth, Francis Bacon. Naturalism in education. Jean-Jacques Rousseau, as a naturalist who has profound reverence for nature, believes that child nature is good rather than evil. The implication here is that human nature developed according to the law, just as the law obeyed by heavenly bodies as they move in their orbits. Stages of education. According to Rousseau, there are four stages in education. First is the infancy. When the child is at this stage, the child is not mature. Infant's psychology is totally different from the adult. At this stage, the child can be taught through normal conversation, according to Chandra and Sharma 2006. Next is childhood. Rousseau believed that the child should not be given books up till the age of 12. The child must learn through experience. The child learns naturally through his own actions and start developing the ability of reasoning. Also according to Chandra and Sharma 2006. Third stage of education is adolescence. At this stage, the child can be taught formal education. The child is exposed to various subjects such as physical science, language, mathematics, social studies, and music and drawing and some kind of professional training. According to Rousseau, education should be given through activities and not by books because activities give more knowledge than books, according to Chandra and Sharma 2006. Last stage of education is youth. At this stage, special emphasis is laid on moral and religious education. Moral education can also be derived through actual experience. Religious education can be taught through the teaching of history, mythological stories, and religious stories, according to Chandra and Sharma 2006.
Behaviorism.
Behaviorist pedagogy or behaviorism looks at the observable actions of students and assesses whether they are learning as effectively as possible. The central belief of behaviorists is that students learn through reinforcement, constant feedback that tells them whether they are doing is right or wrong. These come in the form of test scores or homework marks.
History of behaviorism.
A basic understanding of behaviorism can be gained by examining the story of four of the most influential psychologists who contributed to the behaviorism. And they are
Ivan Pavlov,
Edward Thorndike,
John B. Watson,
B.F. Skinner.
These four did not develop principle of behaviorism in isolation, but rather built upon each other's work. So let us start with Ivan Pavlov.
Ivan Pavlov is perhaps most well known for his work in conditioning dogs to salivate at the sound of a tone after pairing food with the sound over time. Pavlov's work with conditional reflexes was extremely influential in the field of behaviorism. His experiments demonstrate three major tenets of the field of behaviorism.
The first tenet of behaviorism is behavior is learned from the environment. The dogs learn to salivate at the sound of a tone after the environment presented the tone along with food multiple times. Second, behavior must be observable. Pavlov concluded that learning was taking place because he observed the dog salivating in response to the sound of a tone. Third, all behaviors are a product of the formula stimulus response. The sound of the tone caused no response until it was associated with the presentation of food, to which the dog naturally responded with increased saliva production. These principles form a foundation of behaviorism on which future scientists would build. Let's proceed to Edward Thorndike.
Edward Lee Thorndike is regarded as the first to study operant conditioning, or learning from consequences of behaviors. He demonstrated this principle by studying how long it took different animals to push a lever in order to receive food as a reward for solving a puzzle. He also pioneered the law of effect, which presents a theory about how behavior is learned and reinforced. Thorndike conducted was called the puzzle box. Thorndike's puzzle box experiments supported this belief. Animals were conditioned to frequently perform tasks that led to rewards. In addition to his work with animals, Thorndike founded the field of educational psychology and wrote one of the first books on the subject, Educational Psychology, in 1903. The field of teaching by applying his ideas about the law of effect and challenging former theories on generalized learning and punishment in the classroom. And his theories and work have been taught in teaching colleges across the world.
So now let's proceed to John B. Watson.
John Brodus Watson was a pioneering psychologist who is generally considered to be the first to combine the multiple facets of the field under the umbrella of behaviorism.
The foundation of Watson's behaviorism is that consciousness, introspective thoughts and feelings, can neither be observed nor controlled by scientific methods and therefore should be ignored when analyzing behavior. He asserted that psychology should be purely objective, focusing solely on predicting and controlling observable behavior, thus removing any interpretation of consciousness experience. In his 1913 article, Psychology as the Behaviorist Views It, Watson defined behaviorism as a purely objective, experimental branch of natural science that recognizes no dividing line between man and both. The sole focus of Watson's behaviorism is observing and predicting how subjects outwardly respond to external stimuli.
John Watson is remembered as the first psychologist to use human test subject in experiments classical conditioning.
Watson became famous for the Little Albert experiment. He applied Pavlov's ideas of classical conditioning to teach infants to be afraid of a rat. The said experiment showed no fear in response, but through some further experimentation, researchers discovered that Albert responded with fear when they struck a steel bar with a hammer to produce a sharp noise. However, the experiment provides insight into Watson's definition of behaviorism. He taught Albert by controlling Albert's environment, and the change in Albert's behavior led researchers to conclude that learning had occurred.
B. F. Skinner. Skinner was a psychologist who continued to influence the development of behaviorism. His most important contribution were introducing the idea of radical behaviorism and defining operant conditioning. In 1938, Skinner published The Behavior of Organisms, a book that introduces the principles of operant conditioning and their application to human and animal behavior. Skinner points out that teachers need to be better educated in teaching and learning strategies. Skinner, 1968. Skinner gave examples of steps teachers should take to teach properly. A few of the steps include the following.
Number 1. Ensure the learner clearly understands the action or performance. Number 2. Separate the task into small steps, starting at the simple and working up to complex. Number 3, we have let the learner perform each step, reinforcing correct actions. Number 4, regulate so that the learner is always successful until finally the goal is being reached. The number 5, change to random reinforcement to maintain the learner's performance.
Skinner was a strong supporter of education and influenced various principles on the manners of educating.
That's all for behaviorism.